Bismillahi walhamdulillahi assalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers. Today we will continue our study of Surah Yusuf, and inshallah we'll try our best to cover from ayah number 35 to 75. In the previous class, in the previous lesson, we started this surah and we covered from ayah number 1 until 34, Alhamdulillah. And we discussed that this is a full story of Yusuf alayhi salam. And this is one of the unique stories of a prophet that has been told in the right chronological order, meaning when the events happened from time to time, from his childhood, when he grew up, and everything that he faced. And this is a complete story that we will inshallah study within the entire Surah Yusuf, which is until ayah number 111. So today we will try to cover from 35 until 75. So let's start. We went through in the previous class, we had 5 actions that came from the story as we were going through. The number 1 action was that all these stories of the prophets that we have started the journey with Surah Hud, I mean even previously as well, these should be a source of faith and Iman for all of us, especially on the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the last prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The thing is, the Holy Prophet could not have known all of this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that we have revealed all of this in Arabic. The Quran has come down in Arabic so that people can understand better, and this is the context that we are in. So this is pre-migration, and the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his followers are facing all the oppression and all the cruelty of the chiefs of Quraysh, and this it has reached until its peak. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is narrating all of these stories so that the mushriks of Quraysh, they can understand when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes someone, then the punishment is really severe. And it is also as a reassurance for the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions that the only helper is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his plan is the one that prevails. So they should not lose hope and continue to stay steadfast. Number 2 action was don't show off your accomplishments in front of family and friends. Especially these days, there is a trend on social media that people just share each and every update about them, all the positive ones. And now there are some people in their friends and family who may not be that well off or who could not achieve. So this creates an enmity, this creates a race towards material things that is not really healthy. Yaqub alayhi salam also warned. So we learned this in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, that Yaqub alayhi salam warned Yusuf alayhi salam as well when he saw a dream that do not tell this to your brothers because they can because shaitan is an open enemy of man, and then he can put waswasa in their mind and they can harm you in any way or they can plot against you. The third action was we need to adopt and we need to take inspiration from the patient mindset of Yaqub alayhi salam. His most beloved son Yusuf alayhi salam was taken away, and we know that his brothers, they put him in a well and then they came back with a story that the wolf ate him and they brought in a blood-stained shirt as well. So this was a huge moment of sadness for Yaqub alayhi salam, and it was a big challenge that he was facing and almost a calamity that hit his family. However, he just said that the patience is beautiful and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only is our helper and my helper. So this is something that we need to take as an action as well when we are also faced with severe challenges or hardships. Number 4 was strive hard to protect yourself from sins and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst the severe slaves. And we know this, that Yusuf alayhi salam was faced with a very strong test when the wife of the Aziz that he was living with, she tried to seduce him towards himself and fulfill her desire with him. But he sought help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remained steadfast. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the courage to move away and run away from that sin. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we read this in the passage, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have held him at that point in time and helped him, then maybe he could have fallen for the desire, because again this desire for women amongst men is also very strong. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala averted this immorality from him because he was amongst his sincere slaves. And this is a lesson that we took for ourselves, that we should also pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to include us in his sincere slaves and to include us as his slave as well, so that when we seek protection from a lot of things, a lot of these fitnas around us, then we also get help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last section was, have patience when you face hardship to save yourself from sinning. Because right path is not always easy. And we know that Yusuf alayhi salam again had a choice. The wife of the Aziz wanted again to fulfill her desire with him, and she told him that, if you do not do this, and this is where we ended even our previous lesson, and she told him, if you do not do this, then we will throw you into prison. And he chose prison, which was obviously a challenge. It is not an easy thing to be imprisoned as as a prisoner. So he chose that versus committing that sin. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later on rewarded him, as we will read in today. So let's proceed with today's lesson. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ayah number 35. Thumma bada lahum min ba'di ma ra'awul ayati layasjununnahu hatta hin. Then it appeared to them after what they had seen the signs that they should prison him surely until a time comes. So what happened is, now the situation was clear when the relative of the wife of Aziz, who tried to fulfill her desire with the Yusuf alayhi salam, when that relative said that, if the shirt is torn from the back, then the fault is of the female, however, or the wife of Aziz, or if it is torn from the front, then it is Yusuf alayhi salam's fault. However, they later found out that the shirt was torn from the back, meaning he was the one trying to run away from her and she tried to grab him from behind. So it was clear to everyone that now the wife of Aziz was at fault. So at that point in time, we know, after that, the entire episode, the wife of Aziz called in all the females and collected them in a room, and then they cut their hands because when they saw the beauty and how good looking Yusuf alayhi salam was. So we went through that entire story, right? Still, the wife of Aziz wanted to, was trying to, still seduce Yusuf alayhi salam. So he chose prison. And now what happened is, that when all the evidence was clear, even the Aziz, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in his heart to put Yusuf alayhi salam in prison. So that, and Yusuf alayhi salam also prayed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to save himself. So this was a way out that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala found for Yusuf alayhi salam. So he was put in a prison for a certain time. Now what happened in prison? وَدَخَلَ مَعُ السِّجْنَ فَتَيَانِ, and entered with him in the prison two young men. So there were two young men as well who came to him in the prison for some act that they would have done. قال أحدهما إني أراني أعصر خمرا. One of them said that indeed I see myself pressing wine. So both of them saw dreams, and we know this from the earlier part when we studied that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given this knowledge and this skill and capability to Yusuf alayhi salam to interpret dreams. So one of them said that I see myself pressing wine or taking out wine in a container. وقال الآخر إني أراني أحمل فوق رأسي خبزا تأكل الطير منه. The second one said, indeed I see myself, I am carrying over my head a piece of bread, and the birds are eating from it. So these are two people who met Yusuf alayhi salam in prison. One of them said, I see myself pressing or pouring wine, taking out wine in a bowl. And the other one said that, I see myself that there's bread on my head and I'm walking and then I see birds eating from it. So now they're asking Yusuf alayhi salam for interpretation. Nabbi'na bita'wili. Inform us of its interpretation. So what does it mean? Inna naraka minal muhsinin. Indeed, we see you of the good doers. So Yusuf alayhi salam had, he was maintaining his good character even inside the prison. All of the prisoners were impressed. So they thought that, this guy looks educated and he looks learned. So let's ask him. So they said that, both of them told him their dreams, and asking for interpretation because they saw him of good character and knowledge. قال لا تأتيكما طعام ترزقانه إلا نبأتكما بتأويله قبل أن يأتيكما. So he said, so Yusuf alayhi salam responded to them that he said that your food will not come to you, the ones that you provided, but I will inform both of you its interpretation before that it comes to you. So he's saying that I can quickly tell you the interpretation of these two dreams even before your food reaches you. ذَلِكُمَا مِمَّا عَلَّمَنِي رَبِّي. That is what Allah, my Lord, has taught me, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now look at him, he's not just giving in the description of the dream. He's not saying, I am so learned and I am the capable one and I know how to interpret dreams and you guys should be impressed with me. The way he has started answering them, still he has not told them the interpretation of the dream. You will see that until the next ayah. he is just informing them of the right things. He's setting it up. He is setting up that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who gives us this capability or any other skill. So this is a beautiful way of his interpretation from Yusuf alayhi salam. Inni taraktu millata qawmin la yu'minuna billahi wa hum bil akhirati humul kafirun. Indeed, I abandoned the religion of a people who do not believe in Allah, and they in the hereafter they are the disbelievers. So there were some people, and there are many people in Egypt who were also worshipping the sun, and they were involved in multiple polytheistic practices. So here Yusuf alayhi salam is setting it up, and he's saying it's not like I possess something that is out of this world, whatever. I believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I reject the religion of polytheism. I reject all the practices that you guys do. He's just setting it up, clarifying that everything that I am giving to you is a knowledge bestowed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاتَّبَعْتُ مِلَّةَ آبَائِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ وَإِسْحَاقَ وَيَعْقُوبَ. And I follow the religion of my forefathers, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, and we know Yusuf alayhi salam is the son of Yaqub alayhi salam, one of the sons of Yaqub alayhi salam. مَا كَانَ لَنَا أَن نُشْرِكَ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. If it is not for us that we associate with Allah anything. So all of these prophets that he named, Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ishaq alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, they never associated anyone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of his worship as him being the only God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ذَلِكَ مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ عَلَيْنَا وَعَلَى النَّاسِ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَشْكُرُونَ. That is from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us, the mankind, but most of the men are not grateful. So everything that we have, all the blessing that we have is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but most of the men do not know. They are the ones who are not grateful. They don't say shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, this you can apply today even. It's not just for the time of Yusuf alayhi salam. Even today, the so-called Muslim, they do not truly believe from the heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our real Rabb and he is the real Lord, and they are not really thanking him or saying Alhamdulillah from their heart. And it's clear, and we also read in our previous lesson that we should pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be amongst the few people who believe, to be amongst the few, because majority is not the one who's following the right Islam. And we will see that this keeps on coming in Quran in different narrations. So here as well, Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, but most of the men are not grateful. Ya sahibayi sijni arbabum mutafarriquna khayrun amillahul wahidul qahhar. O my two companions of the prison, are Lords separate or better? Or is it better that we have one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's unstoppable, who can do everything? He's al-qahhar. He's the one who cannot be stopped. So he's just asking them a question. It's a logical thing. How can we have multiple gods? How can you have sun as a god? How can you follow polytheistic practices when there is only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He's the only one who is all powerful. So this makes more sense. This is more logical. ما تعبدون من دونه إلا أسماء سميتموها أنتم وآباؤكم ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان. See, still now he's not giving the interpretation and the meaning of the dreams. He's just setting it up that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives capability. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who should be worshipped. All the polytheistic practices that you have are wrong. So he's just trying to tell them that all of this interpretation and everything that he will tell them is not something like, an evil magic, or it's not like something that out of their polytheistic practices. So you do not worship him besides him, but the names which you have named them, you and your forefathers, are not sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no any authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from it. So what he's saying is, all of the names, all of the gods that you have created yourself, you do not have any authority from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that these are the true gods. These are your self-created gods, and this is what you have created yourself just for your worldly needs. Inil hukmu illa lillah. It is surely not the command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Amara Allah ta'budu illa iyyah. In fact, it says for Allah. Yes. So the command, there is no command that can come other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who gives commands, who gives orders for everything in this world to happen. Amara Allah ta'budu illa iyyah. He has commanded that you do not worship but him alone. ذَلِكَ الدِّينُ الْقَيِّمُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. That is the religion, that is the right religion, but most of the men do not know. Again, you see, most of the men do not know that this is the right religion, which also again tells us that we cannot blindly follow the majority. We cannot just say, because look at all my friends are going, so I need to go. All my friends are doing this, I need to do. Look at, these are all Muslims and they are watching movies, going to cinema, I will also do it. No, this is not right, because you cannot blindly follow majority of people or most of the men. The other thing you need to appreciate is, look at the message that is coming consistently from all the prophet and messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of them used to say, don't worship anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of them had the same message. Ya sahibayi sijni amma ahadukuma fayasqi rabbahu khamra. O my two companions of the prison, as for one of you, now he has come to the interpretation of the dreams. Remember the one who was saying that, I am pressing wine. The other one was saying that I've put a piece of bread on my head and birds are eating. So now he's giving them the meaning. O my two companions of the prison, as for one of you, he will give a drink to his master, which is wine. So he will create the wine that is, a good drink, and he will be serving his master, he will be serving the king. That's the revelation. So he will go out of the prison and he will be the servant of the king. Wa ammal akharu fayuslabu fatakulu tayru min ar-ra'si. And for the other one, he will be crucified, meaning he will be killed in the most painful manner. We heard that, the meaning of the word crucified is that the person is killed in a most painful manner, and birds will eat from his head. So he'll be left alone on an open space where birds will come and they will eat from his head. So this was a very severe meaning of the dream of the other person. Quziyal amru allazi fihi tastaftiyan. This has been decreed, the matter has been decreed about which you both inquire. So now I have given you the revelation. So Yusuf alayhi salam is telling them, this is the matter that you asked me, here is the answer. But before that, we saw him really set it up really well, that I do not believe in any polytheistic practices. This knowledge is coming, or capabilities given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how I am telling you. وَقَالَ لِلَّذِي ظَنَّ أَنَّهُ نَاجٍ مِنْهُمَا اذْكُرْنِي عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ. And he said to the one whom he thought that would be saved, so the one guy who would be serving the king or the master, out of both of them, mention me to your master, meaning mention that, Yusuf alayhi salam, because it may be that they have forgotten him, because he was sent to prison for a certain time, and it may be that, it has a long time has passed. So he just asked the guy to remind to the king that, there is a guy, Yusuf alayhi salam, that you sent in prison for a certain time. So is it time up, and can he go out? فَأَنْسَاهُ الشَّيْطَانُ ذِكْرَ رَبِّهِ فَلَبِثَ فِي السِّجْنِ بِضْعَ سِنِينَ. But Shaitan made him forget the mention to his master, so he remained in the prison several years. Now, this part of this ayah has been interpreted in two ways. So one of the ways is, some of them say that Yusuf alayhi salam should have asked Allah, did not ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asked this guy to intervene with the king. So, Shaitan made him forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so he remained in prison for more years. The other, which is the most of the scholars that they believe, no, it was the person whom he said, remind your king, your master, he forgot. So Shaitan made him forgot, and as a result of it, Yusuf alayhi salam had to stay in the prison for several years. So these are the both point of views. The second one, that the guy himself who was released, he forgot to remind the king that about Yusuf alayhi salam, and which is why Yusuf alayhi salam had to live in several years in prison. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ. Now the king said, so one day this story finished, he gave the interpretations to both the people. One of them was crucified, as he said, the other one went to the king as a servant. Now one day the king said, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ, and said the king, إِنِّي أَرَى سَبْعَ بَقَرَاتٍ سِمَانٍ يَأْكُلُهُنَّ سَبْعٌ عِجَافٌ وَسَبْعَ سُنبُلَاتٍ خُضْرٍ وَأُخْرَى يَابِسَاتٍ. Now the king himself saw a dream. And one day, and he said to his people, indeed, I have seen 7 cows, fat ones, and there are 7 cows that are lean ones, that are thin, that are not that fat. So the lean ones are feeding the fat ones, feeding from the fat ones. So the fat ones are being eaten away by the lean ones or the thin ones. So this is a dream that he saw. Plus he saw and there are 7 years of corn that are green and others that are dry. So corn was used as a maple food at that point in time, as a grain, as a main provide source of food. So he saw 7 years of corn that were green and 7 years of corn that were dry. And he saw seven thin cows, or let's say slim cows, who were eating the seven fat cows. Now he wants the answer to this dream. This is very interesting. So please pay attention. Ya ayyuhal, Ya ayyuhal mala'u aftuni fi ru'yaya in kuntum lirru'ya ta'burun. Oh, explain to me, my chiefs. Now he's talking to his people, his ministers, and his cabinet in front of his, palace, and he's saying, "Oh, explain to me, my chiefs, about my vision. If you can interpret the vision or the dreams." So now he's asking his people, "Can any one of you interpret this dream for me?" قالوا أضغاث أحلام. They said that, we do not understand. We are confused about this dream. We do not understand it. وما نحن بتأويل الأحلام بعالمين. And we are also not the ones who can interpret the dreams. We do not have that knowledge about dreams, so we cannot really determine or explain to you the meaning of it. وقال الذي نجا منهما وادكر بعد أمة أنا أنبئكم بتأويله فأرسلون. But said the one who was saved of the two people. Now the guy who was serving the king, when the king mentioned this dream, he immediately remembered about Yusuf alayhi salam and what happened and how he told his dream, the interpretation, and now he's serving the king. So he immediately remembered, and he said, "I can inform you about this interpretation if you send me forth, or if you let me go, and if you let me talk to a guy in prison." So this is what he said. If you send me forth, and then he went to Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusufu ayyuha siddiqu aftina fi sab'i baqaratin simani ya'kuluhunna sab'un ijafun wa sab'i sumbulatin khuzrin wa ukhara ya'bisat. So now he narrated the full dream to Yusuf alayhi salam. "O Yusuf, the truthful one, explain to us about the seven fat cows, and there are seven lean one, or the slim cows, who are eating those seven, and about the 7 years of corn, that 7 years, meaning those seven parts of the corn grain. They are, the branches that stem out from the grain, they're called the years of corn. So tell us about the 7 years of corn which are green, and the other ones that are dry. Ya bisatil la'alli arji'u ila nasi la'allahum ya'lamun. So that I may return to the people, so that they may know. So please tell me this interpretation of the dream, and I will take this interpretation and inform the king and the people, so that they also know about it. قَالَ تَزْرَعُونَ سَبْعَ سِنِينَ دَابًّا. He said, you will sow for 7 years as usual. So look at the interpretation of the dream. Yusuf alayhi salam is saying that, as part of the agriculture, when they have these different seasons of sowing the seeds, when they put the seeds in the ground, and then after a certain time, they put water in it, they put soil in it, and all of those things, and then they are harvesting it. So he said, you will sow for 7 years as usual. So for 7 years, you should put the seeds and try to grow your agriculture as usual. فَمَا حَسَدْتُمْ فَذَرُوهُ رُوهُ fi sumbulihi illa qalilam mimma ta'kulun. And that which you reap, meaning what you harvest, what you cut as crop, so leave it in its years, except a little from which you will eat. So what he's asking them is, for 7 years, there will be no issues. You will get plenty of water, rain, whatever, and you will grow your agriculture. What you should do is take part of it as food, and part of it let it stay inside its ear, so that it is preserved. So preserve part of the food. Why should you preserve part of the food? ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك سبع شداد يأكلن ما قدمتم لهن إلا قليلا مما تحسنون. Then will come after that 7 hard years of drought. So 7 years in which you will consume what you advance for them, except a little of what you will store. So what he said is, 7 years you will get prosperity. You will be able to do agriculture and all of this. So you should sow and harvest all the food and try to preserve some of it. Why? Because after that, 7 years will be really tough. And these 7 years are the one where there will be drought. You won't be able to do your agricultural activities. And the one that you saved from the previous 7 years, the food that you saved, will be useful in the upcoming 7 years. So this is the revelation that he told for the dream that the king had seen. ثم يأتي من بعد ذلك عام فِيهِ يُغَاثُ النَّاسُ وَفِيهِ يَعْصِرُونَ. Then will come after that a year, in it you will be given abundant rain. So the 7 years, so the drought will only last, or the tough period will only last for 7 years. After that, there will be a year in which you will have abundant rain, and they will and the people in it, they will press, and they will then start to come back to life, and they will start to come back to, and then they can do all the agriculture and everything else. So the tough period of 7 years will be over. So 7 years of good agriculture, good time, save some of the food for the next 7 years, which will be tough. And after that, one full year of rains and everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return back the prosperity. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ. So this dream was now told to the king, and look at his response. وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ مَلِكُ تُونِي بِهِ. And said the king, bring him to me. So bring Yusuf, who the guy who told you this dream, just bring him to me. فَلَمَّا جَاءَهُ الرَّسُولُ قَالَ ارْجِعْ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَاسْأَلْهُ مَا بَالُ النِّسْوَةِ اللَّاتِي قَطَّعْنَ أَيْدِيَهُنَّ. And said the king, bring him to me. But when came to him the messenger, he said, now the messenger came to Yusuf alayhi salam, that the king has called for you. He said, return to your lord and ask him what is the case of the woman who cut their hands. So what Yusuf alayhi salam said, he was about to be released from prison, but it is a very, very important point that we need to understand. He wanted to clear his name. He was sent to prison as a person who was who did not do anything bad. He did not commit sin. Still, he was in the prison. So when he was asked to come out, he said that we need to do the investigation, open up the investigation again about the woman who cut their hands and everything that happened. Why was I sent back to prison? Because he wanted to clarify his name. Inna Rabbi bikaydihinna alim. Indeed, my Lord is the all-knower of their plot. He believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he knows everything that they were plotting. قَالَ مَا خَطْبُكُنَّ إِذْ رَأْوَتُّنَّ يُوسُفَ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ. He said, what was your affair when you sought to seduce Yusuf from himself? So now the king is asking the females, and everybody is there gathered together. And he is asking them just to clarify the name in a formal way for Yusuf alayhi salam. قُلْنَا حَاشَا لِلَّهِ مَا عَلِمْنَا عَلَيْهِ مِنْ سُوءٍ. They said that Allah forbid, we know not about him any evil. So they took by the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They said that we do not see any evil with him. Even when we tried to make him commit sin and try to seduce him, he did not listen. So he is not the guy who is evil. قالت امرأة العزيز عزيز الآن حصحص الحق. And said the wife of Aziz, now the truth is being manifested. So now we are saying the truthful thing. Ana rawattuhu an nafsihi wa innahu lamina as-sadiqin. I sought to seduce from himself, and indeed he is surely the one who is truthful. So he is the one who is on the right path, and he's the one who's saying the truth. I tried to seduce him. So now the matter is getting resolved for Yusuf alayhi salam, and he can come out of the prison in a respectful way. ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. That he may know that I did not betray him in secret, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the plan of the betrayer. So here Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, all of this matter, now this has been clarified. It is very important that they understand, all of the people understand, that it was not his fault in terms of everything that happened, so that the king should fully 100% trust him. So now all the matter was clarified, and it is very, very important to understand the matter of kha'inin, the betrayers. So there's a Sahih Hadith related to this ayah, narrated by Ibn Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, for every betrayer, a perfidious person, the one who does not keep his promise or who betrays the person on his back, because obviously the Aziz had kept Yusuf alayhi salam and he has put in trust in him. And if Yusuf alayhi salam was, let's say, involved in his wife, that would have been a very sinful practice. So he wants to be clear, and he wants to mention this, that I'm not the one who betrayed Aziz or his trust. For every betrayer, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a flag will be raised on the day of resurrection, and it will be announced publicly, this is the betrayal, perfidy of so and so, the son of so and so. So this is the humiliation that a person will face on the day of judgment. We should try our best to keep promises, to keep the trust of people, to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's protection. And this is the key learning for us from this story as well. Whenever we are faced with challenges, we already got this action from last class. Whenever you are faced with a challenging situation, ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. And Yusuf alayhi salam chose the tough path of being sent to prison versus committing that sin that the wife of that Aziz was asking, or those women were asking. Moving forward. Wama ubarri'u nafsi. And I absolve, and I do not absolve myself. Inna nafsa la ammaratum bisu'i illa ma rahima rabbi. Indeed, the soul is a certain enjoiner of evil unless that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows mercy. So basically, he would have committed sin. He knows this. And he's saying that, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows his mercy on someone, his soul will definitely join the evil, and he will get into, because shaitan is the biggest enemy of man. This was also said by Yaqub alayhi salam. So if you connect both these things, then you get to know that we need to continuously ask for protection for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Because otherwise, the people, they will get within the waswasa of shaitan and they will join him. Their soul will join him unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows mercy. Inna Rabbi Ghafurur Rahim. Indeed, my Lord is oft forgiving and most merciful. That means we should continue to go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask forgiveness for anything that we do wrong. Waqala al-Maliku Tuni. Now, after all of this matter was resolved, what did the king say? Waqala al-Maliku Tuni bihi astakhlishu li nafsi. And the king said, bring him to me, I will select him for myself, meaning that I will have him as part of my knowledgeable and learned people. I want to benefit from him. He'll be part of my ministers or cabinet. فَلَمَّا كَلَّمَهُ قَالَ إِنَّكَ الْيَوْمَ لَدَيْنَا مَكِينٌ أَمِينٌ. Then when he spoke to him, he said, you indeed are today with us, firmly established and trusted. So the king got Yusuf alayhi salam and he told him that now you are amongst our trusted people and you are very close to me. And you are part of the core committee, if you were to say it another way. قَالَ اجْعَلْنِي عَلَى خَزَائِنِ الْأَرْضِ إِنِّي حَفِيظٌ عَلِيمٌ. He said, appoint me over the treasuries of the land, or the financial matters. I have this capability of handling all of these. Indeed, I will be a knowing guardian. I will be the one who will be really informed about everything that happens. I will note everything down. And if you recall the interpretation of the dream, the tough period, now Yusuf alayhi salam will be leading as, let's say, the financial advisor or the treasury, head of treasury, in terms of, taking care of the wealth of the entire country of Egypt. So he was sort of like a finance minister, modern finance minister, if you were to say. And he's the one who took them through the 7 years and planned everything that they had to save for the other 7 years that were tough. And, he did it very successfully, obviously, by the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And thus we established Yusuf in the land. This is now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, this is how, after facing all the hardship, all that is seeking help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is how he was firmly placed in the land. In this land, if you recall, he came as a slave, as a young boy who was a slave and who was sold on for a very small amount. Now look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established him as one of the most important positions in the land as the Minister of Finance. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. And therein to settle wherever he willed. Obviously, he now became so powerful, now he could settle down wherever he wanted. نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَنْ نَشَاءُ وَلَا نُضِيءُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Our mercy on whom we will. So we bestow our mercy on whom we will, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. And the reward of the wrongdoers does not go to waste. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not let go. So if you look at the patience shown by Yusuf alayhi salam, the prayer made by Yusuf alayhi salam, the trust shown by him on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of these are elements of a person who is who's amongst the muhsineen, or amongst the good doers. وَلَا أَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. And surely the reward of the hereafter. All of this happened with him in this world. So he started as a slave and a small young boy. Now he became almost the most important person in the state as a minister of finance. However, the bigger reward in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not the accomplishment or the power or the position of this world. The biggest reward is of the hereafter, which is better for those who believe and are God conscious or are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who have taqwa. So people of taqwa, yes, they always say Alhamdulillah to any blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives them in this world, and they continue to fear and love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the way it should be done. وَجَاءَ إِخْوَاتُ يُوسُفَ فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَرَفَهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. And came the brothers of Yusuf, and they entered upon him, and he recognized them, but they knew him not. So what happened is, after a certain number of years, now Yusuf alayhi salam is the most important person as a minister of finance, and he's the one who's after the treasury and managing all the affairs. So now, because of when the tough 7 years came, the people from adjoining areas of Egypt as well, in other parts. So if you recall, Yaqub alayhi salam and all the other brothers were outside of Egypt. So they started to look for food, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously made, because this reunion has to happen. Yusuf alayhi salam will see again his father and all his brothers. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the circumstances that now these brothers, those who left him in the well, they came searching for food, and they heard that there is a ruler in Egypt or a person in Egypt who's giving away food as well. So they came in to take the food. Now, once they came in, Yusuf alayhi salam recognized them. He was a young boy. Obviously, they were a bit older, so he recognized them. However, they could not recognize him because now he's a grown-up man from a young boy. وَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ قَالَ تُؤْنِي بِأَخٍ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَبِيكُمْ. And when he had furnished them with their supplies, he said, "Bring to me a brother of yours from your father." So now these guys have all the they were doing allocation of food. So he gave food one each to each of the brothers, because they had just allocated, like for example, 1 camel worth of food that easily a camel could carry. So they had done this allocation because obviously it's a tough period of drought, and they had to manage the food well, and so that provide for everyone. So he just noted down and asked, okay, who's your father, who are your brothers, and everything else. And then obviously one brother was missing. So his brother, who was Binyamin, if you recall at the start of the story, we heard that Yusuf alayhi salam and his direct brother Binyamin were from one wife of Yaqub alayhi salam, and the rest of the brothers were from another wife. So Binyamin, now after what happened to Yusuf alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam used to protect Binyamin, because he felt that now Yusuf is gone and he's been taken away. He didn't know what has happened so far. So he used to take care of his brother, who was from his same wife, Binyamin, a lot, so that his brothers could not harm him as well. So now Yusuf alayhi salam is looking at the register, noting down their names and asking, okay, you have one father, brother, and all of this, and okay, you have another brother. He said, bring your brother to me as well, so that I can give you food for him as well. أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أُوفِي الْكَيْلَ وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنْزِلِينَ. Do not you see that I give full the measure, and that I am the best of the host? So they had seen how he was treating them. He brought them in, gave them all the food, everything fair, even though it's a tough situation. So they were also impressed by him, and he's reminding them, see, I mean, I am giving equal food. You have one more brother, bring him so that I can give you food for him as well, according to the quota. فَإِن لَمْ تَأْتُونِي بِهِ فَلَا كَيْلَ لَكُمْ عِنْدِي وَلَا تَقْرَبُونَ. But if you do not bring to me, then there will be no measure for you from me, and then you do not come near me. So I will not give you his food. Just take your food, whatever. I cannot just give his food to you, because I need to see him. When everybody is getting one thing of anything that is getting distributed, let's say, and everybody is getting one, and they say, no, we also have a brother who's who's with our father. So they say, no, bring your brother. If you want food for him, then okay, bring him as well. So this is what is happening, because Yusuf alayhi salam has a big plan in his mind, obviously helped by the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's saying, if you do not bring him to me, then I will not give you his food. Just take yours and go away. قالوا سنراود عنه أباه وإنا لفاعلون. they said, we will try to get permission for him from his father. Indeed, we will surely do so. So they said, okay, you don't worry, we will return back now. And we will try to take permission from our father if he can send his son. Because again, as I told you, that he was now protective of Binyamin, who was the blood brother of Yusuf alayhi salam. وقال لفتيانه علوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذن قلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون. And he said to his servants, put in their merchandise, their saddlebags, so that they may recognize it. Then they go back to their people so that they may return. So what Yusuf alayhi salam additionally did is, they had brought in some money or whatever things that they had brought in to get the food against. He told his servants to put them back. So he gave them their food, and he also returned back their money, or with whatever materials they had paid, he gave them back as well and hide it, so that when they go back, they say, oh wow, so the Amir was so good, the guy was so good, he gave us the food and he returned our money as well, so that they also come back, because there's a plan going on in the mind of Yusuf alayhi salam. فلما رجعوا إلى أبيهم قالوا يا أبنا منع منا الكيل فأرسل معنا أخانا نقتل وإنا له لحافظون. So when they returned to their father, they said, oh our father, the measure for our brother has been denied to us, so send with us our brother. So they are saying that, bring your brother so that we can give his food as well. So our brother, so that we get measure, and indeed for him we will surely be guardians. Now they are asking is their father Yaqub alayhi salam, please send Binyamin with us as well, because the guy over there, he refused to give his food and his allocation of food. So please let us take him, and we will make sure that we protect him. قال هل آمنكم عليه إلا كما أمنتكم على أخيه من قبل. He said, now Yaqub alayhi salam responded to his sons. He said, should I entrust you with him except as I entrusted you with his brother before? So you want me to trust you guys, while I trusted with Yusuf alayhi salam with you before, and then you guys lost him and told me a story that obviously Yaqub alayhi salam did not believe. فَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ حَافِظًا وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best guardian, and he's the most merciful of the merciful. Now he's still putting his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he's saying that, you guys, what will you protect? You hardly protected your brother. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who protects, and he's the best of guardian, and he's the most of the merciful. وَلَمَّا فَتَحُوا مَتَاعَهُمْ وَجَدُوا بِضَاعَتَهُمْ رُدَّتْ إِلَيْهِمْ. And when they opened their baggage, they found their merchandise returned to them. So everything that they had taken to bring back the food, there was a barter system properly. They found their money or whatever merchandise they wanted to give for the food, it was still there. So now they're like, wow, what a deal it is. We got our stuff back and we also got the food. So this guy is amazing. Let us go back to him. قالوا يا أبنا ما نبغي. They said, oh our father, what could we desire? This is an amazing deal. هذه بضاعتنا ردت إلينا. This is our merchandise returned to us. وَنَمِيرُ أَهْلَنَا وَنَحْفَظُ أَخَانَا وَنَزْدَادُ كَيْلَ بَعِيرٍ. And we will get provision for our family, and we will protect our brother and get increased measure on a camel's load. Now they said, let us go back. We have our merchandise back. We can go back and get all of our provisions again for each one of us, and also send our brother so we can get his provision as well. ذَلِكَ كَيْلٌ يَسِيرٌ. That is a very easy measurement. That is an amazing deal for us. I mean, we will get double the food. Obviously, it is a tough situation and people are looking for food. قَالَ لَنْ أُرْسِلَهُ مَعَكُمْ حَتَّى تُؤْتُونِي مَوْثِقًا مِنَ اللَّهِ لَتَأْتُنَّنِي بِهِ إِلَّا أَنْ يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. He said, I will never send him with you until you give to me a promise by Allah that surely you will bring him to me, and that unless you get surrounded, meaning unless you get surrounded by the enemies. And when they had given him their promise, he said, Allah, oh Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the guardian over the promise that they are making. So now Yaqub alayhi salam told them that I will not let your brother Binyamin go with you until you give me a promise by Allah that surely you will bring him. And unless you are surrounded with enemies yourself, so some harm happens to you as well. It's not like you just come back crying and saying that something happened to our brother. No, if something happens to you and everything else, and if you give me your reassurance and promise by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I will let him go. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who's a guardian on whatever promise that we are making. وَقَالَ يَا بَنِيَّ لَا تَدْخُلُوا مِنْ بَابٍ وَاحِدٍ وَادْخُلُوا مِنْ أَبْوَابٍ مُتَفَرِّقَةٍ. This is a very important point. I want everybody's attention right now in the class. And he said, "Oh, my sons, do not enter from one gate, but enter from gates that are different." Now, what is he saying? So these are 10, 11, 10 brothers, and they're going in to get this food. Now, these are a lot of camels, so people can see, right? And all this food that they're getting. It's a tough situation of the drought. So it's a very tough situation. And there are thieves around. They can steal the food and they can be attacked and everything. So from his mind, Yaqub alayhi salam is telling them, go and spread yourself. Go from different gates of the city. Try to get the food as in spread. Because if you see, and if people will see 10 camels loaded with food and everything, then you can be harmed or you can be attacked. And someone can say, wow, look at them, 10 brothers going in, and there can be an evil eye as well. وَمَا أُغْنِي عَنْكُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. And I cannot avail you against Allah anything. So any advice that I'm giving you can not change anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. So although I'm giving you my advice, however, if something has to happen, it has to happen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But still, if you want to follow my advice, just disperse yourself. Inil hukmu illa lillahi. So this is not, the decision is not except with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is aware of the fact, yes, he's giving advice and instructions to his sons. However, something happen still if it is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Something can still happen. Alayhi tawakkaltu. I put my trust upon him only. He's saying, look at these are very important words for us also to take lesson from. He gave them an advice, yet he said, still anything can happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who controls everything, and my advice cannot help you against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَلَيْهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ. And upon him, let put their trust the ones who put their trust. So you should also put your trust upon him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who lets those people who put their trust in him to put this trust. So this is also by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now there's a Sahih Hadith related to this ayah number 67 that I want to quickly say. It's a very important message on the tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on putting your trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Narrated by Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, an Israeli man asked another Israeli to lend him 1,000 dinars. The second man required witnesses. So one guy asked, an Israeli man asked another one, probably they were Jews that sorry, they were yes, maybe from Bani Israel. They were from Bani Israel. An Israeli man asked another Israeli to lend him 1,000 dinars. The second man required witnesses. He said, okay, fine, if you want to take this, then let's have witnesses. The former replied, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient as a witness. The second said, I want a surety. The former replied, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient as a surety. The second said, you are right, and let him the money for a certain period. So it shows that these guys were religious and they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the guy who was taking the money, he said, we should trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is sufficient as a guarantee, as a surety, and as a witness. So the second guy, he was also religious. So he said, okay, fine, and he gave him the money. Now, this is all happening before the Sharia of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because we know it within the Quran in Surah Baqarah as well, that we have been asked that when a transaction happens between two people or somebody is taking the loan, then the person who's taking the loan, he should have two witnesses and he should write it down in front of the two witnesses that when will he return that loan. However, the story is being narrated from Bani Israel, which is before this instruction came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the debtor went across the sea. So the guy who took the money, he went across the sea to do some trade or anything. The second said, when he finished his job, he searched for a conveyance so that he might reach in time for the repayment of the debt. So now they would have agreed that, after a month or 2 months, 3 months, whatever, you will just return me the money. Now he went across the sea and he was trying to return and trying to find a boat that can take him back so that he can pay back the loan in time. But he could not find any. So he could not find a transport. So he took a piece of wood and made a hole in it. inserted in it 1,000 dinars and a letter to the lender, and then closed it, the hole very tightly. He took the piece of wood to the sea and said, "Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know well that I took a loan of 1,000 dinars from this and this guy. He demanded a surety from me, but I told him that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the guarantee. He was sufficient and he accepted your guarantee. He then asked for a witness, and I told him Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient as a witness, and he accepted you as a witness. No doubt I have tried hard to find a conveyance so that I could pay his money back, but I could not find. So I hand over this money to you." Saying that, he threw the piece of wood into the sea till it went far and out into it, and then he went away. He walked away from that part. Meanwhile, he started searching for a conveyance in order to reach the creditor's country. He did not just leave it, okay, fine, I have put the 1,000 dinar and now I don't need to. He still kept on trying to go back to the country. One day the lender came out of his house. So the guy who had given him the money, he came out of his house to see whether a ship had arrived bringing his money. So when the time of the money came, the guy who had given away the 1,000 dinars, he came out of his house and see if there is any ship coming from the sea and if the guy will bring his money. And all of a sudden he saw a piece of wood in which his money had been deposited. Subhanallah. He took it home to use for fire. So he just saw the wood and he thought that, this wood is coming, and I would just use it for fire, and I would put it in fire and, for cooking or whatever reason he needed. When he sawed it, when he cut it in order to put the woods into fire, he found his money and the letter inside it. Shortly after that, the debtor came bringing 1,000 dinars to him as well. So what happened is, he took the wood, tried to cut it, chop it to use it, but then he saw that there was a letter from the guy and there were 1,000 dinars. And what happened is, that guy also found a conveyance, and he also came towards his country and his place. So he found his money and letter inside it. Shortly after that, the debtor came bringing 1,000 dinars to him and said, "By Allah, I had been trying hard to get a boat." Now this debtor doesn't know he has already received the log and the money. He just came himself. "By Allah, I had been trying to get a boat so that I could bring you your money, but failed to get one before the one I have come by. Now I could not find a boat. This was the fastest one that I could take." The lender asked, "Have you sent something to me?" The debtor replied, "I have told you I could not get a boat other than the one I have come by," because even the guy, he had forgotten that he sent in the log. The lender said, "Allah has delivered on your behalf the money, you sent it in piece of wood. So you may keep your 1,000 dinars and depart guided on the right path." Subhanallah. So what he said is, he thought that now the money I have received is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a piece of log, so that I receive, because both of them put their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So yes, we should put, this story is telling us that the putting trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as real as doing anything. However, what do we do? So if you look at this, it's very important, and I need all of your attention. We still have 8 minutes left. Inshallah, I will try to we try to cover the part that we had to cover today, inshallah. Yaqub alayhi salam asked his sons to take precaution, and immediately he put his trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He did say, yes, go from different gates so that you're not seen altogether. You cannot be robbed or an evil eye catches you. So take this precaution. However, this precaution will not prevent from anything that is supposed to happen from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, a point to note for us as a lesson for us. We try our best, and after trying everything, when nothing works, we say now only God or Allah can help us now. Now, this is our approach today, right? We try our best whenever we are trying to do something, whenever we are trying to solve a problem or a challenge that faces us, somebody is not well, we try our best to give them, and try different things. However, when everything fails, then only we say, okay, now only Allah can help us. Now, what is the problem in this way of thinking? I see 2 hands raised. Taha, please go ahead.
Basically, the answer is just saying that when we try our best and nothing helps out, and we say Allah will help us now, that's the wrong way of thinking, because at the beginning we don't put our trust in Allah first. Then at the end we lose hope and say, yeah, Allah will help us in the end. So we should always put our trust in Allah at the beginning of any problem.
Excellent, brilliant. Aziz, your hand is raised. Go ahead.
So I think that there are 2 problems with this way of thinking. The first one is, so after trying everything, it says after trying everything, like that's not good, because You should put your trust in Allah and ask Allah's help during trying, because that's not one problem. The second problem is that even when after you're done, that means that after it's a last resort. That means that asking Allah is a last resort. But asking Allah should not be the last resort. It should be the first thing you do. So, and then, yeah.
Jazakumullah khairan. Aziz and Taha, Jazakumullah khairan. Both of you have perfectly described it, and I don't think I need to add anything. So let's proceed. Perfect answers, mashallah, from both of you. Jazakumullah khairan. So this is the problem in this way of thinking, because as you said, we are trained to find solutions to problems based on what's available in this world, resources and people, right? And one of the issues here is, why does this happen? All of this because we don't truly believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is the one who makes things happen. We don't have this belief, because I mean, we try our best and we say, okay, fine, now nothing is working, let me. So as both of you mentioned, Aziz and Taha, the point is, why don't we do that? And why don't we involve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the start or during or immediately? Because we do not really believe in this fact. This is a fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who makes things happen. So the action for us is, we should still take precaution and try our best. But at the same time, we need to have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the story of Yaqub alayhi salam, and that mentioned, the way it is mentioned in this ayah, the way he was thinking and teaching his kids, okay, take precaution, this is my advice. However, this advice cannot help you even, I mean, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if he wills something. However, I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to put our trust at the same time. We have to start praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the help for any problem that you face in life, any challenge that you face in life. Yes, you cannot just say, someone can say, okay, fine, I will just pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I will sit and I will see if it happens or not. No, you have to take precaution. You know, you have to try your best to come out of that situation and seek help. However, you have to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pray to him for the resolution of that challenge. Moving forward. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ أَبُوهُم. And when they entered from where their father ordered them, so they followed the instructions of their father, the sons, now they are entering. مَا كَانَ يُغْنِي عَنْهُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ إِلَّا حَاجَةً فِي نَفْسِ يَعْقُوبَ قَضَاهَا. It did not avail them against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anything, but it was a need of Yaqub's soul which he carried out. So basically, obviously, anything that Yaqub alayhi salam told them, it was something for his own comfort, as his own advice. So it could not avail them against the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّهُ لَذُو عِلْمٍ لِمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. And indeed, he was a possessor of knowledge because we had taught him. So Yaqub alayhi salam also had knowledge of things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had taught him or revealed to him. But most of the people do not know, or most of the people do not understand. Can you see the repetition of most of the people? So please take note of this. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى يُوسُفَ آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَخَاهُ قَالَ إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. And when they entered upon Yusuf, he took to himself his brother. So he took his brother Binyamin in isolation, and he said, indeed, I am your brother. So he disclosed this to him, but not the other brothers. So do not grieve for what they used to do. Now he said, the tough times are over. My brother, you are now with me. I know they were really tough on you and me as well, and when I was there, but now he revealed his identity to his own brother Binyamin, his blood brother, but not to his step brothers who were also there. So he took him alone and he said, now you do not need to worry, and bad times are past us. فَلَمَّا جَهَّزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. So when he had furnished them with their supplies, so he gave them all the food that was supposed to do as per the allocation. He put the drinking cup in the bag of his brother. So there was a cup of the king that he hid under the stuff of his brother Binyamin. Then called out an announcer, "Oh, you in the caravan, indeed, surely you are thieves." So now there's a plan that is going on in Yusuf alayhi salam, and he has a plan that he's following. And so he put the cup, hiding it within his brother's stuff. And then there was a person who came out, and he said, as they were about to leave, somebody, they intercepted him and say, "Oh, you guys in the caravan, surely you are thieves." قالوا وأقبلوا عليهم ماذا تفقدون. They said, turning towards them, "What is the problem that you miss? What are you missing? Why are you calling us thieves?" قالوا نفقد سواء الملك ولمن جاء به حمل بعير وأنا به زعيم. They said, "We are missing the cup of the king, and for the one who brings it, there is a load of camel, and I am the one responsible for it." So basically, there was a reward that the king gave. Then they announced, and this is now the entire plan of Yusuf alayhi salam. So this guy came to the brothers and all of them when they were leaving, and he came to them that, there is something that is stolen from the king, and the person who will return will get a full load, and I want that reward. So that person came. قالوا تالله لقد علمتم ما جئنا لنفسد في الأرض وما كنا سارقين. They said, "By Allah, certainly you know that we do not come here for corruption, and we do not cause corruption in the land, and we are not thieves." So now the brothers are trying to explain to him. قالوا فما جزاؤه إن كنتم كاذبين. They said, the people who had come and intervened from Yusuf alayhi salam, they said, "Then what should be the recompense if you are liars? If we find the missing item from you, then what should be your recompense?" Yes. So here, basically, this is the last ayah for today that we plan to cover. And from here, the story will move forward. And just for you guys to know, what happened is that later on, they said, the brothers responded to them, and they said that, the punishment should be that the person who is found, he should be taken as a captive. So that's what they said, because they are so sure that we haven't taken anything. We are not thieves. So they are so sure, and they are saying this should be the rule. And anyways, and then the story will continue, inshallah, in the next classes. And Alhamdulillah, we have finished exactly on time. There was only one action from this class, from today's class, and that was, we should take precaution and try our best, but at the same time have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like the advice of Yaqub alayhi salam for his sons. And we went through this in detail, and we said that, we have been hardwired to think through this world as, we have to try our best, try our resources, and once we get tired and exhausted and we don't do, then only after that we say, "Okay, fine, now only God can help, or only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can help." No, this is the wrong mindset and attitude. Our mindset should be like Yaqub alayhi salam. First of all, his patience is also inspiring, as we discussed in the previous class. Then the way he gave advice to his sons, and then he also said that, this advice I am giving you, however, cannot help you if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already decreed something or decided something against you. And I put my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while I'm giving this advice to you. So this should be our mindset. Seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help, ask for his protection, try your best, and take precaution. It's not like, fine, we will just pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sit and do nothing. No, you have to do and try your best, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the best of the plan unfold for you. Are there any comments, anything before we close today's class? Okay. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are pure from imperfection, and all praise is due to you. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship besides you. I seek forgiveness from you and return to you with your full obedience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers. Inshallah, I will see you guys next week, same time.